TheAdvocateChannel.com looks at the world through the lens of equality and inclusion. Subscribe, like, and share now. AC 24/7's Top Story Countdown continues with our producer's pick for number 3.
We have more surveillance, more lifeguards out there than we've ever had in the past.
5 suspected shark attacks within 24 hours, leading officials to ramp up shark patrols along New York's coast.
It's their territory and we're invading their territory.
The incidents happened at 5 different locations on Long Island beaches. On July 3rd, officials say a 15-year-old girl was bitten while swimming at Robert Moses State Park. And a 15-year-old boy says he was bit at Kismet Beach.
My first reaction to when the shark grabbed my foot was to immediately get out the water and get help.
Then on July 4th, 3 more incidents, this time all involving adults at 3 separate locations. All 5 swimmers had non-life-threatening injuries. CNN obtained this drone footage from Robert Moses State Park Beach on July 4th of what was initially described as sand sharks. The sighting delayed the beach's opening, but state park officials now say the animals were likely another species of fish, according to the New York Times.
What we're hearing from the shark experts is that these bites are undoubtedly a mistake. The sharks think they're feeding on bait fish or bunker fish, and that's why these are bites.
That's why park officials say having an eye in the sky is a critical asset.
The drones, much more inexpensive to fly. They could be deployed very rapidly. We are entering the natural habitat of these animals, and there's always the potential for risk. But with all the assets and manpower that we have employed here, the idea is to keep people as safe as possible.
And it's not just the Northeast that's on heightened alert. This was the scene Monday in Pensacola Beach, Florida, where a shark was spotted swimming near the shore. And while it may seem like we're seeing more shark encounters, experts say that isn't necessarily the case.
A lot more documentation occurs because everybody's got a cell phone, so we see more of these things, so they come into our living rooms really quickly.
Like the Advocate Channel on Facebook for the best way to get updated stories that advocate for equality, justice, our rights, and more. AC 24/7 continues with today's top 2 pick.
In the beginning was the buffalo. Tens of millions of them, wandering the land, munching wild grasses, and using poop and hooves to create rich, fertile soil up to 15 feet deep.
Look at this.
Yeah. But since Americans replaced buffalo with cows, generations of fertilizers and pesticides, tilling and overgrazing have turned much of that nutrient-rich soil into lifeless dirt. But not on farms, where they graze cows just like wild buffalo.
Well, so adaptive multipaddock grazing, AMP grazing, is a way that mimics the way bison have moved across the Great Plains. And so it's really about the animals hit an area really hard, and then they leave it for a long time.
Peter Bick is a professor at Arizona State University, and he believes that if enough beef and dairy operations copy this simple hack, cattle could actually become an ally in the fight against climate change.
I anticipate we'll get a lot of pushback because people are not thinking that cows can be a part of the solution. Not only are you going against the grain of environmentalists who think meat is evil for lots of reasons, you took money from McDonald's for this.
Yeah, I asked for money from McDonald's for this. I wanted to go to big companies because if they don't change, we don't get there.
For his docu-series, Root So Deep You Can See the Devil Down There, Bick assembled a team of scientists.
We're really interested in insects that live in poop.
Experts in bugs and birds.
Yes, bobwhite.
Cows, soils, and carbon. They spent years comparing 5 sets of neighboring farms in the southeast. On one side, traditional grazers who let cows roam one big field for months at a time and often cut fertilized grass for hay.
Woo! Come on!
On the other side, AMP grazers who never mow or fertilize.
You open a gate, they go through, it takes 5 minutes, Cooper will roll up a wire,
and with a single line of electrical fence, move their cows from one patch of high grass to the next.
That's building fence. This is how easy it is, Peter.
While their science is yet to be published and peer-reviewed, Bick says early data has found ant farms pulling down up to 4 times the carbon, while holding 25% more microbes, 3 times the bird life, and twice as much rain per hour.
If it's a 1,000-acre farm, it's 54 million gallons of water. That's now washing your soil away versus soaking into your land.
Wow! Look at this grass!
But this is also a human experiment to see whether data and respectful discussion can change hearts and minds.
This was grazed about 40 days ago, and this hadn't been fertilized in 12 years.
Awesome.
And when we got out of spending money on fertilizer, it was huge, huge. And I didn't think it would ever happen.
It is such a stress release. We just don't worry about a lot of it anymore.
And then you don't even fertilize when you plant your ryegrass.
Nothing. It sounds crazy, but
it
just
works.
letting Mother Nature do the work.
Would it be an interesting thing if you didn't have to pay for fertilizer?
Would that be wonderful?
Curtis Spangler is one of the conventional farmers in Roots So Deep, and he says his mind was changed when he realized he now has a way to double his herd and quit his second off-farm job.
And right now, we're having to dump thousands of dollars into nitrogen every year that really, if we just change a couple things, we might be able to save that money to put it toward other resources.
Is that something you're committed to doing now as a result of this project?
We're really looking and seeing the benefits of it and how we can work it.
So as we hit the height of grilling season, a little food for thought.
There is ways to produce meat that is not good for the planet. And there's ways to produce meat that's really good for the planet. And that's the nuance that's been missing.
Follow the Advocate channel on Twitter and Instagram to stay updated on stories that matter every day. We're now at our #1 story of the day. Take a look.
It's official. The first drug shown in trials to slow the progression of Alzheimer's now has full FDA approval, and infusion centers are gearing up for an anticipated surge in new patients.
In certain areas, I anticipate we will receive probably at least 15 to 20% more patient referrals for this drug.
The drug, called Leqembi, is administered through IV infusion once every 2 weeks. Thursday's full traditional FDA approval means the drug is now available for coverage by Medicare. Leqembi has been available under accelerated FDA approval since January, but at a cost of more than $26,000 a year before insurance, many patients couldn't access or afford it.
You had this treatment at your fingertips, and suddenly you had Medicare saying, yeah, but you can't quite get access to that at this point in time.
A large trial funded by the drug's makers found Leqembi slowed the progression of the disease by about 27%. Leqembi targets a specific protein that forms plaques in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. The drug does carry some risks. About 13% of patients receiving the drug in its trial had brain swelling, and 17% had brain bleeding, compared with 9% in the placebo group. And while experts agree the drug is a major turning point, they also warn Leqembi is not a cure and was only tried in people with early Alzheimer's disease.
People who are moderate or severe, we would not know whether this drug was efficacious, and we would not even know whether it was safe.
I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
Thanks for watching the Advocate channel's top stories. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Follow, like, and share, or check out advocatechannel.com for even more stories that advocate for you.